Welcome to Sunday school time. Oh, yes, this is the day that the Lord hath made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Now, let me remind you of a couple of things. Number one, vote. Go out and vote. Number two, when you go out to vote, or if you have not voted, and you're going out to vote, remember, I laid it over so I can't show it to you. Put your mask on, please, please put your mask on. We have to stay safe. We're going into the flu season, and all of the signs are saying is that we don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to get worse. As you see, it's getting worse again now. So please, madam and sir, take care of yourself. And if you don't care about yourself, think about me. Put it on so that you can protect your loved ones, your fellow loved ones, okay? And that's why we wear it. I wear it to protect my good buddy Sharon here, and she wears hers to protect me. Because why? We want to take care of each other, and that's the way that you should do. I see the governor is saying, don't congregate as much as we've been doing, so let's keep each other safe, all right? Woo, do we have a good lesson? A good lesson. It comes in the form of a question. Why does evil succeed? Woo. Why does evil succeed? Before we get into the lesson, let's do a little history. You remember back in 1954, the Supreme Court. Did you hear what I just said? I'm telling you, you got to listen to this lesson. The Supreme Court, that's how come 45 is trying to change the face of the Supreme Court so that things could be done like he wants it, or a few people want done. But don't let me get off. Please help me, Lord. Brown versus the Board of Education of Topeka was a landmark. In 1954, the Supreme Court ruled unanimously that racial segregation of children in public schools was unconstitutional. My sisters and brothers, if that came up to the Supreme Court today, it would not pass. We would say separate but equal again. But in fact, the Supreme Court found that separate but equal education and other services were in fact not equal at all. That's when we found out. You see, that I was going to Madison Junior High and Duval and Carter Elementary. I was going to those schools. And we was having hand-me-down books. Hand-me-down books. So, therefore, in 1954 now, trust me, it hurt my heart when I found out that when it was time for me to go to high school, because I wasn't in high school yet now, that I wasn't going to go to Central High, because all black students went to Central High School. And let me say, Central High School had some high academics. In fact, I don't know why people felt like we wasn't getting quality education in the black school. We wasn't getting quality material. We were getting hand-me-down books and things. Let me go on. So, when I discovered I had to go to Shawnee, it hurt me to my heart. But my experience at Shawnee was great. Yes, there was some racism. Yes, there was some classes where I was the only black sitting in the class. Yes, there was a teacher that I thought was racist, and I discovered that when she said to me, you won't amount to anything. And it hurt me to my heart. But she wasn't being racist. You know why? It was just my time. It was my day to be told that, because she told that to everybody in the class at one time or another. And I was the only black in the class. And trust me, she told 20 girls before she'd gotten to me. But when she said to me that day, you're not going to amount to anything, And I knew she was from Mississippi and I was the only black in there. It sounded racist, but I knew it wasn't. I knew it wasn't. But let me go on. So that's when we had desegregation, not integration, desegregation, because integration means you in there, you mixed and mingling, but it was just desegregation. But in September 1975, that's when it was decided that busing would come in to play. And in Louisville, Kentucky, it was one of the worst, I'm saying it was one of the worst areas, because, my sisters and brothers, 98% of white suburban parents opposed the busing, and the opposition that was met to busing, it was white students attacked buses with black students on it, and they threw bricks at it. They started fires. They organized rallies. It was terrible here. Well, in 1975, I was out of school then. I still hadn't found myself. But my sister and I, we was decided one day, and this was the thing that you did, that we were going to go to Fort Knox and party. It was a Saturday. We were going to go out to Fort Knox and we were going to party. But we told ourselves before we left that we were going to start back early, because at a certain time, to go to Fort Knox, we didn't have it like it is now. You had to go out Dixie Highway. And Dixie Highway, long about 7 o'clock in the evening, became Death Highway, because all of the white people out there would line up on the sidewalks, especially in Valley Station, and they would fly their Confederate flags, and they would honk. They would call out to everybody that went past, honk your horns, to show that you were against busing. So we said, okay, we're going to go to Fort Knox, we're going to have a good time, but we're going to come back so that we know that we get through Valley Station before nightfall. Well, of course, we had a good time, and we kind of forgot the time. And when we said, woo, let's get headed back, we started home. And we were worried because the sun was going down. And I said to my sister, if we make this next light, because there is a light, even today there is a light right in front of Valley High School. And that was the hot spot. I said, we can make this light, we're home safe. Well, bless God, the light changed, it was red, and we had to stop. And I was there at the light. Nobody was in front of us. And my sister, she said, well, at least nobody is out yet. I said, what did you just say? She said, well, they're not out yet, so if the light changed, we still safe. I said, girl, don't turn your head, but just cast your eye over to the sidewalk. There were more people than I have ever seen. Such anger, such evil on their faces, and they were shouting at me and my sister, honk your horns, nigga, honk your horn. Well, I'm one of those people like, not today. You're not going to make me honk no horn, because I'm not doing it. But I noticed in my rear view mirror, they were creeping up behind the car. I thought, Lord, help us. And when my sister looked and she saw all these Confederate flags flying and the angry white mob that was shaking their fist at us, but God heard it. He turned the light and we drove off. Because I had decided when I saw them coming up, she said, what are you looking at? I could see them in the rear view coming up behind us. I thought, okay, if I go backwards and hit them and then start up, I'm going to go through these lights. Catch me, because y'all not going to get me out here in Valley Station and kill me. And that's the kind of thing. But what struck me is the evil that I saw on their face. And I was in hopes that I would never see such evil again. But I have. I have seen, I never thought that I would see that kind of evil again. But I have. And it has come about because of leadership. Leadership. So what does it take? I mean, the question is, why does evil succeed? What does it take for evil to triumph? The answer is simply for good people to do nothing. And my sisters and brothers, we are only a few days away from voting. You can vote now. But one of the most important elections in this generation is being held November the 3rd. Now, when Edward Everett Hale was chaplain of the Senate, someone asked him, "Do you pray for the senators, Dr. Hale?" And he replied, he said, "No, I look at the senators and then I pray for the country." Never before in the history of our country, our time, has it been more important for the country to pray before an election. Never before in the history of our country, our time, has it been important for the country to pray, to just pray before, during, and after the election. And life is full of choices, and the decisions you make decides your destiny. But let me say this, if you decide not to vote, then you have just voted. Now, let's take a look at our lesson. I will say this. Let me say this. The United States is not perfect, and my goodness, she's even worse now than she was 4 years ago. But we are blessed to be in a country that you do have the ballot box and not bullets. So we get to elect the leaders. And if you're not careful, my sisters and brothers, there is an undercurrent where that's trying to be taken away from us. You need to be on guard. But let's get to the lesson. Before us, we have a lesson from the book of Judges. And it's a parable. But it's a parable, and it's the first parable in the Bible. And guess what? It's about politics. It's about politics. And it's a word of warning from God in this day, this season, and it is a word of warning, and it is about America in these last days. So let's look at Judges chapter 9, verse, let's start at 8. We're going verse 8. The trees once went out to anoint a king over them. And they said to the olive tree, "Reign over us." But the olive tree said to them, "Shall I leave my abundance by which gods and men are honored and go sway over the trees?" And the trees said to the fig tree, "You come and reign over us." But the fig tree said to them, "Shall I leave my sweetness and hold sway over the trees?" And the tree said to the vine, "You come and reign over us." But the vine said to them, "Shall I leave my wine that cheers God and men and go hold sway over the trees?" Then all the trees said to the bramble, you come and reign over us. And the bramble said to the trees, if in good faith you are anointing me to be king over you, then come and take refuge in my shade. But if not, let fire come out of the bramble and devour the cedars of Lebanon. That's the parable. Now, let's put this thing together. Perhaps I need to give you some background. And the background will take us to back up to verse 1. Let's get the background. See, first of all, the trees have already messed up. To say they want a king to reign over them, they don't need a king. Trees don't need a king to reign over them. But this is what they wanted. So how does this parable come into being? So let's go back into Judges chapter 9, verse 1. Now, Abimelech, the son of Jerubbaal, went to Shechem to his mother's relatives and said to them and to the whole clan of his mother's family, say in the ears of all the leaders of Shechem, which is better for you, that all 70 of the sons of Jerubbaal rule over you, or the one rule over you? Remember also that I am your bone and your flesh. And his mother's relatives spoke all these words on his behalf in the ears of all the leaders of Shechem, and their hearts inclined to follow Abimelech, for they said, he is our brother. Now, let me stop right there. Look at the steps of Abimelech. What does he do? He holds a press conference. How about that? Introduces politics of division. How do I say that? Because what he wants to do is divide and conquer. Oh, my Lord. This is back in the book of Judges. Unless you get confused, I'm in the Bible. It may sound like I'm talking about today, because guess what? This is just foreshadow of what today is. Now, understand, Abimelech was an offspring of Gideon, but through one of Gideon's concubines. Now, Gideon was over Israel. But now Abimelech, he wants a small minority to rule over the majority. Woo, God almighty. I said something there, and if you didn't catch it, I'll say it again. You see, Gideon was ruler over all of Israel, the whole nation. But now what Abimelech, his offspring, wants, he wants Shechem, which is a small majority, to be over the majority, with the small minority be over the majority. And my sisters and brothers, wake up. That's what we have today. We have a small minority over the majority. So, and that's why, so he calls a press conference, introduces politics of division, because he wants to make Shechem great again. Oh, placing everyone above others. Now, everybody in Shechem, that sounds like somebody else. When we talk about make America great again, Do you not know that over 200,000 people have died from COVID-19 and it could have been prevented? Is that the way we're going to make America great again? We have rioting in the streets. We have killings by policemen. Is that how America's supposed to be great again? Let's go back to the lesson. All right? And so here's what he says, and this is what he does. He goes to his family. And they said, well, yeah, it makes sense to them. And they gave him, I'm in verse 4 now, of chapter 9. And they gave him 70 pieces of silver out of the house of Baal-berith, with which Abimelech hired worthless and reckless fellows who followed him. And he went to his father's house at Ophrah and killed his brothers, the son of Jerubbaal, 70 men. He murdered them on one stone. But Jotham, the youngest son of Jerubbaal, was left, for he hid himself. And all the leaders of Shechem came together, and all Beth Mallo, and they went and made Abimelech the king by the oath of the pillar at Shechem. When it was told to Jotham, he went and stood on top of Mount Gerizim and cried aloud. This is when he told this parable. Now, the second thing that he did, see, step one, it wasn't nothing but 2 steps that Abimelech did. Abimelech, he went and to his folks, and he said, look here, y'all my people, and he introduced a division, a politics of division. He divided to conquer. Now, step number 2, he got funding for his campaign, so he hired thugs to kill any opposition, and that's what we see today. Now, it may not be boom, boom, kill, but how many of you know that you can kill a person's reputation, you can kill a person's character assassination. And I have never seen anybody. Now, this is Geneva. I'm not speaking on behalf of St. Stephen. I'm teaching out of the Bible. I've never seen anybody who is so ruthless and ready to, and will character assassination. Barack Obama's been gone from the White House for 4 years, and this man is still wanting a character assassination. Joe Biden, character assassination. Now he wants to jump on and talk about China and Biden's son. Well, guess what, dude? Woo. Wake up, America. Wake up. Because if you don't, you're going to find yourself in Babylon 4 more years. Okay, so now let me get back to it. But this is what he did. He hired thugs to assassinate, and this is what he's doing. And we think it's funny. We think it's comical that I don't put a mask on. I'm immune. And you just said you had COVID-19, and now you're going to get up and say I'm immune? Over 200,000 Americans probably wouldn't be dead if leadership was leading. Okay, now, so the tree's elections. The olive tree said no, they couldn't do it because they productively were honoring. Their productivity was honoring God and man. But I want you to notice that they asked the olive tree which was big, strong, and branches and roots go way down. They started with the olive tree. Then they go to the fig tree. They go down a step. The fig tree said, no, I can't be bothered with ruling over this because I am producing things that sweetens. So then they went to the grapevine. They moved from a tree to a vine. And then even the vine said, now why in the world would I stop producing wine that cheers God and men? And then they come to the bramble. And the bramble is unproductive. He has nothing to offer. It said, and take refuge in my shade. Well, a bramble doesn't have shade, so that shows he starts lying from the beginning. And I think that's what we have seen, lying from the beginning. Bramble ain't got no shade. He said, but if you come and take refuge in my shade, if you're anointing me, king over you, then come and take refuge in my shade. But if not, let fire come out of the bramble and devour the cedars of Lebanon. Well, what are you saying, bramble? When you say the cedars of Lebanon, well, the cedars of Lebanon were of the highest order, always there. They were powerful. They endure. They were tall. They were strong. So the bramble said, I got news for you. This, if you don't fall and do as I want, then what I will do, I will bring it all down. I don't care how powerful, how strong, how tall you are, I will bring it down. Because what? I will have the power to bring it down. And if you don't get along with me, this is what the bramble is saying. If you don't get along with me, I'll bring it down. I will bring down what? The economy. I will bring down the government. I will bring down health care. I will bring down early childhood. I will bring down social justice. I will bring it down. You've been warned. Now, so let's look at the lessons that we can learn from the tree's election. How does a Christian determine who to select? How does a Christian determine? Number one, is the person earnestly Christian or became a Christian for political expediency? And I have to think, you don't, a lot, the only reason you haven't seen them in this election is because the churches are closed. But many times, this is the time, if we were in the house on Sunday, we would all 6 services that we have at St. Stephen, they would be at all 6 services. Be there more than you would be. Because it's expedient. See, and we need to understand, because the candidate says that they are born again, that's not enough. See, in today's society, these candidates love to tell us that they are born again. They're eager to tell us they are born again. But they don't show us that they are born again. In fact, do you remember last week's lesson? We talked about if you know Christ, show Christ. And how can you tell me that you are showing Christ when you cut off things that help the needy, the less, and the lost, children, elderly? A candidate may have a deep personal faith and clean personal morality and still make decisions that hurt society, that bring harm to the poor and the oppressed. Because, see, many times, help me, Holy Ghost, we say, all right, we are against abortion. But how do you explain that you say a baby ought to be born, but no, we're not going to give him health care. No, we're not going to give them good education. No, we're not going to see that they have certain things. That's oxymoron. You want them to exist and not live, but you are living. Okay, understand that being born again is not enough. And they need to understand the need of integrity. Integrity means whole or complete. They need to have character. And character is who you are when no one is watching. Abraham Lincoln said this. He said, nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. And if I had a mic, I would just drop it and walk on off, because it has come to light. If you want to test a man's character, give him power. And we have given power to somebody, and you discover they have no character. And I'm not taking it back. I'm not taking anything back today. Because our lives depend on it. Our future depends on you going out to vote and making the right decision. If you think I'm saying dump Trump, I am. I'm saying dump Trump and ditch Mitch. They've been in there long enough for you to see. Maya Angelou said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. How many times they got to show you? They're not for you. So character is who you are when nobody is watching. Holders of political office are subject to many temptations. Money, sex, power. Has the candidate already shown certain vulnerabilities when it comes to accountability? Woo! Don't start me. Don't start me on this one. Accountability. Won't even give you accountability of how much money that he made. Everybody else got to show they income taxes, but I'm above the law. So if I lose this election, I'm above the law, but I'm going to use the law to try to keep me in the White House, because I'm going to stack the Supreme Court and declare, I got my excuse already, that they've rigged the election, so let the Supreme Court decide who's supposed to be president. If we ever aspire to do away with corruption, we must elect leaders with good character. Good character. Stop looking at what you're going to do for me. What are you going to do for us? All of us. Now, point number 2, which version of Christianity have they embraced? Uniting or polarizing? In other words, Are they for bringing the people together or separating the people? Well, I think we see the divide and conquer now. Are they addressing the concerns of the poor or the concerns of the rich? Nobody is standing in the gap for the poor. It's all for the rich. How a society treats its most vulnerable is a tremendously important fact. Who is advocating? Are they advocating for the voiceless or catering to the powerful? Are they engaging social justice or passive on social justice? Oh, drop the mic again. Because right here in Louisville, Kentucky, we just saw it go down. And now that they are allowing the jury to talk, they said, no, we wasn't giving this kind of information. Because they were stacking to make it look like police was right. Now, I'm not against police, because God knows I think we need the police. I don't want to live with y'all without a police. But understand, police must be held accountable too. And so now, if you're wrong, I just read in the paper yesterday that one of the officers said if we had conducted this early and quickly in a more organized way, it never would have happened. But yet, when the grand jury's report's made, here stands the Attorney General of Kentucky standing there talking about, I'm a black man. Dude, we can see you black, but you never identified with us. So don't try it now. And this is what we got to say. And then you indict a man who shot his gun and it hit the door of another room, apartment. And so you indict him. But the one who shot Brianna, who shot her boyfriend, no, they did it. It was all right. It's all right. It's all right. Okay, let me go on. Point 3, are they intellectually, okay, that already throws that, and morally qualified for the demands of the office? Need I say any more? No. Point number 4, Christians and all good people must be engaged in civic responsibilities. Let me say that again. Because see, now I'm going to come back and throw something on you. And it hurts me to say it, but I have to say it because it's the truth. Christians and all good people must be engaged in civic responsibilities. What are you saying, Geneva? I'm saying the outcome of the Trees election was not the Brambles' fault. They asked him. The outcome of Donald Trump being put in the White House was not his fault. He could lie all he wanted to. He could promise all he wanted to. He could wear a red hat all he wanted to. He could do whatever he wanted to. But the fault lies with the voters. When good people don't step up, evil people will. And I won't take that back. Because see, when there is no, Proverbs 29:18 said, when there is no prophetic vision, people cast off restraint. But blessed is he who keeps the law. So we need to be aware of what the candidate's vision is. The candidate need to be able to articulate the vision. A positive vision. Positive. It needs to be a positive vision that the most vulnerable in society, the boys, the girls, old men, old women, homeless, and the list go on, are thriving. Not just that 1% that's got it already made and I'm just trying to find a way to keep it. And number 5, Christian principles for selecting a candidate. Look at them. Reject self-centered politics. Reject candidates that promote divisive politics, securing votes by setting groups against each other. Because this is what has happened. You see, in post 9/11 America, fear has been a driving political force. We fear the Islam, we fear immigration, we fear loss of jobs, we fear driven politics create a culture of paranoia. Fear-driven politics. But we as Christians must fearlessly believe that we can create a better and more peaceful world. That's what it was in the 1960s. That vision for the 1960s, a lively vision of a world without poverty, war, injustice. That's what the vision was in the 60s. But when we got to the 70s, it became a me decade. It's all about me. So evaluate a candidate not by what they promise to do for me as an individual, but rather what can you do to offer every American opportunities for education, safety, clean environment, health care, social justice. I believe it was John F. Kennedy who said, ask not what you can do for me, but ask, what can I do for America? What can I do to make America great? Not again, but great. The first thing you can do is vote. Now, Edmund Burke said the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Vote and let your voice be heard. What does vote mean? Vote of the entitled. Change it to vote of the exploited. You see, we got some people who feel they are entitled. But let the ballot box this time be the voice of the exploited. Please, sir and madam, go out and vote. Ask not what the country can do for you, but ask what you can do for the country. Go to the polls. Let your voice be heard. And then we could sing together in the old Negro hymn. I won't let nobody turn me around. I'm going to keep on walking, keep on talking, keep on voting. I'm letting nobody turn me around. See you next week.